Hello, guys. I'm Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran, and I've had a lot of friends in comics, publishing, comic book distributors, a little bit retailers, like all around the board. So I feel I have a little bit of more than a normie understanding of how product gets on shelves, money's received, how long it takes for a publisher to get it, stuff like that, right? And one of the things I've made reference to recently is some of my last times of working at DC, the last couple of years, there was a concern about how bad numbers were. DC Comics was trying new publishing initiatives like some of the YA books and stuff, and how much money they were funneling into that just as a risk. And one of the things that also was a concern that came up was Diamond. What if Diamond went under? Diamond, how stable is Diamond? And we are seeing, like, if you guys are watching this channel, we've been talking about the bankruptcy and what that means. And it's weird to watch comic news not cover a lot of what's going on here, like mainly the cause and effects. And I feel like Bleeding Cool and people kind of touch on it, but I feel like they're trying not to scare everybody. Like, it's kind of a panicky situation, I guess, in my feelings, right? So we got Matt Moylan here. I hope I'm saying it right. Director of publishing at Udon Entertainment. For people who don't know, Udon does a lot of the publishing of things such as, I guess, Transformers, but also basically the Capcom stuff, right? Is what they're known for. Udon is able to make, basically any type of Capcom, from my understanding, book. I think mainly Street Fighter stuff is what sells. This tweet is the worst case scenario for a lot of publishers, and this has had an effect on Marvel and DC, mainly because Diamond was allowed to appease comic book shops. When Marvel and DC left, they were still able to order books through Penguin Random House. So whatever damage you're seeing happen to, whether it be Dynamite not being able to make payroll this last week, Image Comics having to lay off 4 employees, or in this tweet here, do know the same damage in proportion is probably happening, maybe less or so, but still, there is hits that Marvel and DC are taking, and I'm going to start pointing these out to you guys. All right, so Matt over here at Udon is saying, we've placed notice a few places, but just for any North American comic shop who haven't heard, please don't buy Udon books from Diamond Comics. Now, I've heard this same complaint from a RPG role-playing game company that were on YouTube, and they were explaining this situation along live stream. We don't ship to them anymore. Okay, so basically, no new book from Udon is going to Diamond. But that doesn't mean Diamond isn't holding a lot of Udon stock, whether it be like hardcovers, omnibus, any of that stuff, right? So what's happening to the stock that's Diamond's holding along with people's money, which they're not issuing? They're holding our remaining inventory hostage, refuse to return it to us. Okay. They continue to sell Udon product, even though we've told them they have no rights to do so. So why would they tell Diamond to quit selling the books that are there? Because Diamond doesn't have to issue payments. And that's what we've seen recently happen with Dynamite Comics, and they can't pay their employees. They refuse to pay us for the sales of that merchandise, so they're not returning it, and they're not going to stop selling it. They plan to liquidate our inventory without our permission or paying us for it. Udon product is only legally distributed through Simon & Schuster, Lunar Distributions, and Universal Distributions. Okay, so this is, like, for most people, the worst nightmare if you're a publisher. The guy that's been collecting your money from the comic shops and is holding your inventory is not giving you either your inventory back, or they're not giving you your money. Now, that's bad enough, but it's going to get worse, because let's say you have some long selling product, right? Like long tail product, not just monthly comics, but just books, hardcover books or something. They sit in a warehouse and they go out in batches, mainly when there's high ticks and book buying season, which is usually around the fourth quarter, around the holidays, right? The fall, winter. Usually those are the high numbers, technically, for bookstores. So those books are now going to be liquidated, and this product is basically going to be handed to a customer you never got any money for, and they maybe got it for less. So you've lost that sale. Even if you went to reprint that book, that customer has already bought that book, your book, but got it from Diamond, and you got zero money for it. You have all this money tied up in the printing, the production, all of that stuff. So you're just SOL. And this is where it gets even more grim. Now, if it's being liquidated, you could argue this is lowering the value of your books, your future books, the things you're going to sell in the future. Let's say if I went out here and I bought Street Fighter Collection Volume 2 for, I don't know, $3 from Diamond, but you're out here trying to sell me volume, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 at $9. I'm kind of like, yeah, but you could do 3. Why? Because Diamond could. Diamond didn't spend anything on these books. The only thing they've spent is in the warehouse that's holding the books. They didn't produce the book. They didn't pay the print bill. They can sell these things next to nothing. You'd actually be better off if Diamond just burned these books and incinerated them, because at least then you could reprint the book and make the sell to the customer that wants it. But instead, they're going to liquidate this stock. Now, this is happening across the board. And when I say across the board, it's probably happening with Mattel. It's probably happening with Hasbro. It's probably happening with Penguin Random House Books. Anything they had their hands on. I doubt that there's one company they're just not doing this to. They're going to do it across the board. Now, this could really, just in the world of publishing, this could be like high dollar books like Omnibus that usually can fetch anywhere between $120 in cover price. Think about that. Some of these books are probably, guys are going to get a really good sell on. Maybe you'll get a $120 omnibus for like $30, or something like that. Some retailers may still be able to buy this stock at next to nothing pretty soon from Diamond. I mean, it is a going out of business sell, but is it legal? And I'm not a bankruptcy guy, and I'm sure some guys out there, some attorneys would know more about this. But it might be you'll never get your money and you'll never get your product, and good luck suing Diamond. They filed for bankruptcy. They're protected. All of this stuff. Now, the real question is what is the fallout of this? And I believe we will not know this until next year. I believe a lot of people are going to posture themselves and look good. They're going to scrub together Marvel and DC, some one-offs, crossovers that are quick cash grabs, like 2 months. Here's Batman and Deadpool, the most popular, iconic characters from both companies. For 2 months, we're going to both put out a one-shot, Marvel and DC, and we're going to pull in some money fourth quarter. We're going to make numbers look better than they are because we just lost a shit ton of capital with Diamond. So what will 2026 look like? And I think this is interesting to me, this article. So Marvel Comics is doing a swimsuit issue, and a lot of people were talking about it. And I didn't really think much about it. This was a thing back in the 90s. Some people are like, oh, we're getting back to drawing some sexy women. We got some boobies out there. That's great. But this is what's interesting about it, is Marvel is actually printing old covers, variant covers by Adam Hughes, by Oliver Coipel, and they're printing them as pages in the book. Now, what this is, and this is, I think, the worst case scenario in the American comic book industry, and I think this is the beginning of what could happen. Worst case scenario. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but worst case scenario. Marvel, DC, the mainstream comic book industry trying to rebound off the Diamond bankruptcy and the money lost is quite simply they could start printing backwards. Yeah, we've seen top-selling books being facsimile issues, which for people who don't know are reprints of old comics with a new price tag, but just reprinting an old comic as a simple floppy, not a trade, not a collection, not a hardcover, but just the initial whatever 20 page, 22 pages paper and staple comic, just all over again, right? Maybe some new ads in it, but pretty much the same book. Paper quality, sure. What if, to tighten your belt, become as high profitable as Marvel and DC could in 2026 to bounce back from this bankruptcy, what if Marvel and DC actually contemplated just refurbishing old comics? Like, what if you said, here's our portfolio for all of 2026. We quit hiring new books. We maybe make 12 new books. The rest of our line, we go back, I don't know, to the 80s and just start reprinting runs of Captain America, of X-Men, of Avengers, of Fantastic Four. And we don't collect these things. No, we actually reprint the actual single issues and we reproduce them on better quality paper. We already have been scanning these in and remastering these for our digital and everything. I mean, a lot of this stuff is already prepped. It's just a matter of putting comics together and hitting print. And what if that was our big plan? Yes, sales may go down and we're going to take a hit. Maybe, hypothetically, it's arguably they could go up. But we're not spending anything. We're not spending anything because we already paid for all this stuff. It's all work for hire. We own every bit of it. And that could be our big publishing plan. But you go, but you're not doing the research and development. Well, no, we'll pick maybe 12 books a year that we do a new book. Sure. Maybe we'll even flagship books like the Avengers, we would do that. But what if we could just, get out of debt in a way or recoup the money we lost with Diamond and maybe even course correct the collector's market and the readership of Marvel Comics by just running backwards with everything. In a previous video, I talked about how like they're trying to get fans to come back by, reprinting one-shots or making new one-shots like called Planet Hulk. That was 20 years ago that people cared about that. So this is interesting. Right? Obviously, Marvel's trying to find ways to come up with free artwork that they've already paid for before, whether it be a cover and just use it as a pinup. Now, that to some people, that's not going to be all that crazy or drastic or insulting. But this is also messing with one of the tent poles that have been holding Marvel Comics up, and that is the variant cover. The qualifying variant cover. This She-Hulk cover by Adam Hughes was a foil variant cover for She-Hulk #1. Somebody somewhere probably paid more than cover price for it. So this is alarming that now this is just a random page in a floppy pinup book, right? A lot of utility for Marvel just doing these pinup covers. Again, the Venom, another cover. The Namor, another variant cover by Oliver Coipel. I'm just saying this is happening in this one book. You could take this same thing and apply to monthly publishing at Marvel Comics and trying to give comic shops something to order. That could be your publishing plan for all of 2026. You would technically be super profitable and you could even fire your staff because you don't need any editors. You just need pre-press guys putting this stuff together because basically these things have been edited and they're there. And here's the sad truth that the American comic industry has been sitting on is the books in the past are better. And that's not me being old man talk. I mean, that's why the facsimile issues sell. That's why the trades sell. That's why Spider-Man Torment by Todd McFarlane still sells. That's why, some of these classic runs from Kirby on Fantastic Four or Walt Simonson, they resonate today. You could just do this and print these runs for years. I mean, the American comic book industry is sitting on years and years and years of old comics that probably a whole generation has not read. And arguably, these things were crafted better by people that knew what they were doing. The Marvel DC artists today do not really have the skill set from people of the past. That's just factual. The editors today at Marvel and DC, most of them didn't even grow up reading comics. I had this conversation with a high-ranking DC editor at the time, and it was very much known that the talent pool for people applying for, like, say, assistant editor jobs, which would climb up to be editors and stuff, actually, they're the generation that grew up on these characters on TV and stuff. They know these characters from cartoon shows and stuff like that. They didn't read these books. They're learning how to make comics based off of characters that they just know the characters. So the craft and the ability to even identify comic talent from an editor right now is at an all-time low. So you really have like this perfect storm, a disastrous perfect storm that's hovering right on top of the American comic book industry. There's so many things going wrong all at once. And at the verge of people really needing like the Superman movie to be a big hit this weekend. So you go like, how willingly will mega corporations keep dumping buckets of money into the American comic book industry before they go, hey, let's just reprint all these old books? If you guys will hit like, subscribe, ring the bell for notification. Let me know what you think about this news. Also, get out here and back Annatomic, $83,234. We're ending our first 30 days on this campaign. Please go over here, be a backer of this, and also consider, if you haven't, you can go to our shop and buy any of our previous books in our store. But you get more with the campaigns, such as stretch goals, trading cards, bookmarks, all of that good stuff. And be a member of 9 Lives Comics. I'll leave you guys with a trailer for this smash hit book, and we'll catch you guys again with another video.
If fighting was a god, I would worship him. I would bow to him. I would pray for victory. For he only grants opportunities. But behind every god lurks a devil. And the devil wants me to take a dive. My name is Annatomic. And this is how my legend was made.